I completely like fangirled, and I just like my mind went blank. Was it a thought? That worry was my life. My confidence level is not low normally, but at that time, I would say it was like deep down under the ground.
Frost may never have 5:30 in Milwaukee, and traditional
I'm seeing mostly blue. The sun is out.
World of Korean sports with several international. The flagship program for EBS Radio in Korea is Morning Special. It is live from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning, and the host of that show is my guest today. She has been doing radio in Korea for over 20 years, and she is the face for people in Korea trying to improve their English through news and articles. She is Choi Suejin. Thank you for joining us today, Suejin.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I was counting back. I was trying to figure out exactly how long you've been doing this now, and it does seem 20 years. Does it seem like 20 plus years to you?
No, it doesn't. I'm surprised you knew that, actually. I started in 2004, so just over 20 years now. Yeah. It doesn't feel like that at all, no.
Yeah, they say that to be a master of something, according to the books, I think it was the tipping point that they mentioned you have to have 10,000 hours of something, and you'll pretty much, for the most part, be a master of something. I figured out if you're working full-time in something for 10 years, that should load up your 10,000 hours. So you could argue that you're certainly a master of radio and broadcasting by now. Do you feel that way, or do you feel that you're still learning something new every day, sort of a thing?
I mean, coming from you, the master of broadcasting yourself, I mean, yeah, I'd say you probably have over a decade's experience more than I do. So I never consider myself a master, but I'm definitely more used to it. And I always feel like, one of the keys to becoming good is to always have an open mind. I try to learn something new every day, and I feel like there is something to learn every day. So yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever compliments and credit you give me, but at the same time, I don't think I've mastered this, so to speak.
Do you remember your first time being live on air, and that feeling or your expectations compared to the way that you view broadcasting now?
Yeah, the first live show that I hosted was probably about a year into actually doing the broadcast work itself, because I was doing a recorded show initially, and but the first time I did a live show, it felt great. I mean, I was nervous as hell, but it felt, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but I've always been a sort of, I guess, a shy person in most, everyday life. But then I've always loved going up on stage. So that was sort of, doing a live show was like going up on stage times 10. So yeah, I just really loved it.
Tell us about Morning Special. That's the show that you're a host of. You've been the host of the show for, gosh, I feel like it's been over a decade now. Certainly a very long run that you've had. Tell us about your relationship with the program, how you got into it, and just what it's all about for people who don't know.
Right. Not quite a decade. I hosted this show initially in, I think it was 2018. So it's been, 7 years now? But I had been on the show before as a reporter. No, actually, come to think of it, back in 2010-ish or 8 or 9, I hosted the weekend edition of Morning Special. So I had actually hosted the show before. I forgot about that, actually, because when I first got to host this show 7 years ago, it just felt like I was a rookie again. I was starting from fresh. Of course, I was a little bit more prepared than I was the first time I actually hosted a radio show ever in my life. But still, it felt very new, and everything felt fresh. But yeah, I've been sort of on and off this show as all sorts of things. Like I said, a weekend host, a reporter, and I've helped out with the writing and things like that in the past as well. So all in all, like maybe about a decade, yeah. But also as a listener, you know, I knew this show even before I was on it, because it is a show that's been around for 20 what is it? 1997 is when it started.
Over 25.
So do the math for me. Yeah.
28 years.
28, thank you. Yeah, I know you're a much better calculator than I am. So yeah, 28 years. So, you know, the show's been around forever. It's a very popular show. And I knew that as as an outsider, even before I was on the show ever. So I was a fan of Lee Bo-young 선생님. She was the first host of the show. And now we're friends. So it's just amazing how things work out. But having been on the show, you know, I enjoy every moment of it. It's really hard to, I guess, be able to say that you love what you do, you love your job. I'm lucky enough to be able to say that. So, I mean, I'd say that 99.9% of the time, I love going to work.
I hear what
you're saying. Of course, there are the exceptions, maybe 0.1, I don't know, you know, the weather, or, you know, I'm feeling, not feeling so great. I don't know, but most of the time I'd say I love it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. When we look at the history of the program, as you alluded to, Lee Bo-young being the original host and a longtime host of the program, and after she left the program, there was quite a void, or maybe even I might even say a revolving door of hosts, until I would say that it is stabilized with your arrival. Because I think prior to you taking over as host of the program, they probably went through, I would imagine, at least 5 to 10 different people who had hosted for 6 months or a year, maybe a couple of years, till they really came to you. And as mentioned, you've been able to host this for 8 years now and really bring stability to the program. Do you get that sense? And do you remember some of those years where there was a bit more of a revolving door?
Well, having been on the show, like I said, you know, I worked with various hosts. So I know that in the past, you know, the show went through a number of fantastic hosts, actually, but, you know, they were all sort of like a year, 2 years. And for personal reasons, I'm sure they had their own, you know, reasons for not staying on longer. But yeah, I have been told I'm the second longest, or, you know, I've been hosting it for the second longest period after Lee Bo-young 선생님. So I'm very grateful and can't believe that's, you know, I have that title. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't want to take the full credit for this, because I always feel like it's teamwork, and I try to, you know, sort of get along, make everyone feel as much a part of the show as I am, because there are a lot of people, and I mean, like, we have the writers, the producers, the assistant directors, and even the engineers who do the work in the mornings. I try to sort of make sure I involve them in the show every now and then. I'll maybe mention something that I know about them. And I try to be as engaging as I can, you know.
Yeah, because like I said, there is something that you know you bring to the show that is obviously different from the previous hosts before you, and the audience obviously likes, because that's why you've been doing it for as long as you have. So certainly kudos for the job that you've been doing with the show. And even I remember, like, you started off, I want to say as an intern on the show, or like I remember meeting you with the program back in the Lee Bo-young days, helping out. Yeah. So even leading into that, your relationship with the show goes back so long ago that, I mean, you know the show inside out through all of its transitions throughout the years.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Again, I'm surprised you remember everything, don't you? Yeah, a long time ago, 20 plus years, right at the start of my broadcasting career, I was briefly sort of interning, I suppose, helping out with the show, this particular show. Yeah, you were there, I think, and some other English broadcasting legends. And I got to experience the show from a very different standpoint to where I am now, which is sort of, I'd say, almost at the bottom. And there were days when I'm sure, like unintentionally, people would just walk past me and not say hello. Not because, they didn't want to or anything, because they were busy. I get that now. But back then, I just felt like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if the host or a reporter or someone, someone on the show, the face of the show, would include me in some way. Maybe just say hello in the morning, how are you doing, that sort of thing. And I'm not holding a grudge against anyone, but because I understand all the work that goes into it from, like, an assistant's perspective, and someone who doesn't have their face or voice shown on the screen or through the airwaves. And also, I would always get there earlier than everyone else, do the printing and stuff, and make sure everything was in place. And it was great to experience that, even though it was brief. And so I feel very lucky that I did, because I think that's one of the reasons why now, when I host the show, and I have done over the past couple of years, whenever we have a new an intern or an assistant director, or, a university student who's just experiencing broadcasting for a month or something, I try to make sure I memorize their names. I'm really bad with names, but I try to ask them every time, like, sorry, what was your name again? But I make that effort. And I think that came from my personal experience of having been there. It would have been, I don't know. I mean, some people did always say hello. Some people didn't. Again, I know it was completely unintentional, but I feel like I sometimes just walk past people as well, and I go, oh no, actually, go back, say hello.
I know exactly what you mean with that. Like, I remember my first ever TV job where I was on air at the station, and I would, walk past people all the time, and everyone would say, hi, Jason. And then, and there, I think at the station that I was at, there was at least 200, 250 employees. So I would have like at least 20, 30 people in the course of a day, maybe like call me by name at the station. And I'm kind of like, I remember thinking, oh, that's so unfair. Like, because you see me on there, you see my name, like, and I just can't possibly remember everyone's name. And I want to, right? So then I would ask other people, like, oh, who is that? What was that person's name again? So I would get it next time. But like you mentioned, it's so difficult to remember everyone's name, even when you are trying. So the fact that, you are even trying, because you do know the other side of that, I think very, very admirable.
Thank you. I mean, but I feel like this is, again, there are sort of many different aspects and sides to how to hold down the job, I guess, basically.
Yeah.
But this is one of them. And it's something that I mentioned because it's not really talked about much. But there are other things like stamina. I think really important. You have to be sort of fit to do this job. I'm doing a live morning show almost every single day. And another thing is, I guess it's a given, but I just really want to be the best that I can be. And, I speak pretty fluent Korean and English, but I still feel like there's work to be done. And I always feel like, there's something to learn. And I don't hide that. When I do the show, if I learn something new, and often with you as well, you'll say something and I've never heard of that expression before. I didn't know that's how it was used. And so, I won't hide it. I won't go, oh, okay, and just pretend to know it. I'll just say it out loud, because I know most of the listeners, they're probably thinking the same thing. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
That was one of my favorite things about working with Lee Bo-young previously as well, is that, she was always the student of the show, and I was kind of like the teacher of the show. So she, live on air, loved saying, oh, wow, I'm so glad that I learned that today. And as you mentioned, I think the audience appreciates that, because they're learning along with her. Sort of thing. So she was kind of along for the ride as the host of the show. So I think it brings you to the level of the audience, and they can relate to you so much better from that perspective.
Yeah. Also, I totally agree. And she really set the bar high as to, how to be an engaging host and sort of teacher and student at the same time. So kudos to her for that. And again, I really admire her in so many ways. I've learned so much from her. But then at the same time, even though there are things I learn, and I'm definitely not shy to mention it and admit it, I try, if possible, to really be sort of on top of everything. So when I ask a question to any of my co-hosts or reporters, I will almost always have a backup answer just in case the person goes, oh, you know, I don't know. So in order to do that, of course, that means I'm spending more time preparing and trying to really be on top of my game, because I don't want to leave anyone hanging, or I don't want to put them on the spot and then make them look bad. You know, that's not a good look for the show, and also it doesn't feel good. You know, if someone goes, "Hey, do you know what this is?" and they go, "No," and they go, "Okay, let's move on." You know, we don't want that to happen. So most of the time, if I ever ask a question, I almost always have some sort of a backup answer in my head, just in case.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's I often compare the preparation work that goes into a show to the tip of an iceberg. So, you know, you show that little bit, but you actually have way more prepared beneath the surface.
Yeah, I remember one of my mentors in broadcasting said to me, when the best broadcasters, when they're asking questions, they already know the answers that the person's going to say, and you're simply asking the questions for the audience. And I think that's a good example of what you say. And the few times that, if neither of us know the answer of a question or something that's come up that we have been talking about, the one thing I love about what you do is sometimes when I'm talking, you'll actually go on the internet and search in real time. And then by the time I'm finished saying what I'm saying, you'll actually have the answer, because you do understand that, I don't want to leave the audience hanging, because, now all of us are wondering what the answer of this thing that we're talking about was. And you go out there, you find the answer, and you kind of satisfy everyone's thirst for the answer there.
I guess that's the big difference between 28 years ago and today. You can search everything online and it's instantaneous.
Yes.
So I like to take advantage of the technology we have with us. So why not?
So going from Morning Special a long time ago, when we started there together, you moved to Arirang Radio, and you had actually we both went to Arirang Radio at the same time, come to think of it. And you were doing the morning show, I was doing the evening show. Tell us about how you ended up there, what that was like, and just your tenure there, why you left there eventually.
Right. So I was straight out of university, and actually maybe I was still at university just before I graduated. And I'd always wanted to be a news anchor, actually. During the whole 4 years of university, I sort of trained myself. I didn't actually go to any institute or academy, but I was constantly watching BBC, CNN news, and sort of imitating what the anchors would do and the way they spoke. And I just loved it so much. And so I had that dream in my head. So as soon as I was near graduation and I'd finished all my coursework, I immediately applied to sort of whatever was open and available where I could use English as the primary language, and get into broadcasting. And it just so happened by chance that Arirang Radio was hiring new DJs. So I applied, and it's funny because you mentioned the timing there. I actually applied to Arirang first, and then I heard there was like an opening for an internship at EBS. So then I went to EBS, but EBS was like, can you come in tomorrow? So, whereas Arirang, it took some time. I had to wait, I don't know, a couple of weeks, I think, until I heard back from them after I applied. So I started working as an intern, writing the English scripts as well, just sort of as a backup. And then a few days later, I got the call from Arirang, so can you come in to do the audition? So I went there, and you were there, and many other people. I remember Isaac Yin was there, and who else? Loads of people that I'm
Yeah,
sure
Young
people.
Kim.
Yeah. Anyone who's been listening to English radio shows for a while will know these names immediately. So yeah, everyone was there, and the audition, it went, I think, okay, and then
When you did the audition, did you think at like leaving the audition, were you in your head thinking, "Oh, I got this," or "I hope I get this," or like, "Oh boy, I don't know what to expect"?
No, I just felt like I loved this. That's what I felt. I didn't know if I'd get it or not.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed just being inside that studio and being in front of the mic, and because I had dreamed about it for so long. Not necessarily being in a radio booth, but just broadcasting. And I'd spent so many years in front of the TV screen, imitating all these, great news anchors and the way they spoke and things like that. And so I was just happy I had the chance to do that. And I thought I tried my best. And then I got the call back. They said, "You got the job." And they also said, "We feel like your voice would be best suited for a classical music show." So the first show I ever did there was a classical music show. It was a recorded show, but nonetheless, yeah, for a year, I think, I hosted, what was it called? Morning Call, I think it was. Yeah, it was a morning show, but yeah.
And then you went from that to doing the morning program there, right?
Right. So after a year, which I loved, I learned so much about how to, host a classical music show, and it's really helped me to this day, actually, because just a few days ago I was invited to another classical music show to guest and interpret, and that experience 20 years ago really helped me to understand how a classical music show goes, because it's different to a news show. But nonetheless, I did that for a year, and during that time, I constantly told the managers and the higher uppers that I was so interested in doing the news. And I just, every time I had the chance, which I just, as I was maybe walking along the corridor, I'd say, "Hi, I'd love to do the news. Bye." Sort of, I made sure that they knew that I wanted to do the news. And after about a year or so, they said, "So we're going to have like a live news segment for Arirang Radio." I think it was for the first time. So before then, they had Arirang TV news reporters come in to do the 5-minute news slots. Yeah. So they were on a different floor, and they would come to radio and do the news and then go back. But I was the first sort of, in-house sort of like, radio news person. And I was there all the time. I did the news and then other things in between. So yeah, that happened about a year in, and I was able to do 5-minute news slots every hour for half a day or something like that. Yeah.
So all of this was before hosting the morning program then?
Right. Yeah. So I think I did that for about a year as well, probably. And then I hosted Breakfast Club, which is the current affairs news show, the live show. So yeah, probably about a year of news reporting. But it was intense because that year was 2005. And that was the year that Busan hosted the very first Busan Expo, Expo, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And they had Han Ki-moon, he was the foreign affairs minister at the time, and many dignitaries there. And because I was sort of the only news person that belonged to the radio team, I was sent to Busan to cover all of the stories by myself. So I was running around. But I have such fond memories of it, though, because it was my first time to be on location, just running around with a mic and jotting down notes, and then doing the live news or whatever coverages every hour. So yeah, I was running around like a headless chicken, but a happy headless chicken, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And I spent, I think about a week, I think it was, or several days inside the Bexco building. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
I don't
Bexco, that's
remember
right.
it that well.
In
Right.
Busan.
Yeah, because we did have a hotel. It's not like they didn't get accommodation for me or anything, but there was so much work to do and so much writing and summarizing and all of that. I didn't have time to leave the building, and nor did many other journalists. So they had a separate designated room where they had these sort of massage chairs, but people use them to sleep in. So you would go in this room with the massage chairs, the lights were off, and you'd take 5-minute power naps and then come out and then work again. And we did this all throughout the night. And a lot of journalists actually stayed inside the building all night. And I really enjoyed being a part of that. But that helped immensely in what came next, which is what you said, hosting the live news show. So I guess it was from 2006. I don't remember the dates.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long did you do the morning show there for?
I think it was I think I left Arirang Radio in 2011 or 12. So
about 5 years or so.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I feel like altogether I think I was with Arirang for 8 years. So if you take away the classic music show and the news reporting, then I guess I hosted the actual news show for, I don't know, five years or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So 5+ years of morning radio with Arirang, 5+ years of morning radio with EBS. You're becoming this morning radio person or personality.
Yeah.
Have you always been a morning person, or do you think morning radio is making you or turning you into a morning person? But how is it doing morning radio specifically compared to like any other time block?
Yeah, I was not a morning person. In university, I was just a typical uni student that stayed up all night. I loved working at night when it was absolutely quiet and you couldn't hear, you could hear a pin drop. So yeah, then I would get up late in the morning as well, and all of my classes were sort of late in the morning or maybe in the afternoon. So yeah, I was that sort of typical student. But then because I had this passion for broadcasting and the news, and opportunity led me to this live morning show, I don't know, I just like got myself into this morning routine pretty quickly, and it's stuck ever since. So now I'm definitely a morning person, but I wasn't before. I am now. Yeah, I get up at 6. Sometimes I get up at 5, even on weekends when I don't have a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just wake up and I go, okay, what am I going to do now until the sun rises, because I don't have a show to do on the weekends. And yeah, so now it's pretty much become a part of my cycle and my routine.
I know you have a family now then. So because you're a morning person now, does that turn the rest of do you turn the rest of your family into morning people as well? Are they like, oh, mom, kind of thing?
Yeah, well, my kids have sort of been forced to wake up pretty early from a young age. So my eldest is 12. So, I've been broadcasting her whole life. So she's not ever seen me not broadcasting, even though it wasn't a live show initially. When she was born, I took a break for a period of time, but nonetheless, yeah, my kids are pretty good at waking up early in the morning. But now, as they're heading into sort of their teenage years, they do want to stay up late, and their friends already do so. They tell me, oh, my friend, they said they went to bed at midnight. I want to do that too, and I'm just like, no, you have to go to bed now because you have to get up early. And they don't get up with me, but I leave for work before they go to school, so I always want to see and talk to my kids before I leave for work. That's why they kind of half wake up in the mornings. And they like it. If I don't say hi to them, and I give them a hug every single morning, if I don't do that, then later on after school, they'll say, Mom, you didn't hug me this morning. What happened? You should wake me up. And so I missed my daily hug, and I love that. So yeah, they're pretty much morning people. Not to the extent that I am, but yeah.
Sure. You mentioned when you had your elder that 12 years ago you took a little bit of a break. I think that's something, like as a guy working in the broadcast industry, that's never something that I've had to deal with. But I do know women that come to a career crossroads. In a lot of cases, maybe in their late 20s, early 30s, they're just reaching the height of their broadcasting career, whether it be on radio or television. And then, nature calls in terms of the cycle of life, and they've got to decide whether they want to, have a family or not. And in a lot of cases, when they do, I think there is a fear. Certainly for me, if I was at the height of my career and I had to decide to take, a break, let's say, and, the way that broadcasting works in Korea, a lot of times people get out to take a break and then they never get back in. Were moments like that ever, was that a thought in your mind that, okay, wait, if I take a break, I'm not going to get back in? Or, when you were taking the break, were there ever moments that you were antsy that you wanted to get back in? Or was it a thought of like, if I don't, who cares?
Was it a thought? That worry was my life.
Yeah.
At the time. Because life forces you, when you're a woman who's just had a child, to take a break. Even though career-wise, you don't want to. I didn't want to. Not only was I worried, I was kind of devastated. And also, there was a part of me that thought, maybe I'll never get back in again.
Yeah.
Because, like my confidence level is not low normally. But at that time, I would say it was like deep down under the ground. It's like it was non-existent. I had no confidence in myself and my life. And as a first-time mum, you're not good at being a mum. Whereas I was kind of getting to be good at my job as a radio host and things like that. So I was good at that. And all of a sudden, you quit doing what you're good at and you start having to do something you don't know how to do at all. And so, if you had to choose in a normal situation, would you prefer to do something you're rubbish at or something you're good at? You'd normally go for the thing you're good at doing, right? But so I was, I had postpartum depression, which I know a lot of mothers go through. And that was, I think, one of the reasons when I got back into broadcasting, I appreciated it that much more. And that was actually not one of the reasons, probably the reason, I would say, apart from, just loving the job itself, but because I had been away and I wondered whether I'd ever get back in. And, I was so lucky that I did. I just felt so lucky and blessed and appreciative and thankful. It was really different to the first time I got hired. This was a different kind of it, feeling. So maybe that has something to do with what motivates me to really appreciate my job still to this day. And I know, going back to Iboyong Sensei, we keep mentioning her so much, so only because I love her so much. But I know she was also a mother when she was doing the show, and she hosted it for a very long time as well. So I think there's that extra level of appreciation you have of a job as a mother, because not all mothers can work in an area where you're passionate about it.
Yeah. And I work at Arirang TV as well. And, there's a lot of ladies that I work with there that, have been in similar situations where they were news anchors there. They left to start a family, and then they've come back years after, they've raised their
Right.
children and come back as a freelancer, as an on-air personality. And you can see like that they don't take it for granted because I do see a lot of people that wonder if they're out of the industry for good, but then while they're away, they want to get back in. And, that moment of, I don't know if I can, but I want to try. And once again, I think like you mentioned,
Yeah.
there's that moment of doubt of,
Sure.
can I still do this? Do they want me anymore? Like, am I the same person that I was before in that
Yeah.
sort of a way? And also, I mean, you change as a person. Like you bring, I think the good thing is you do bring a certain maturity as a mother to a program that maybe you didn't when you're just coming straight out of university looking for your first career
Sure.
job sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Mm.
You mentioned Ebo Young several times, as mentioned. How about any other mentors that you've had along the way, or people that you've looked up to, or even just people that you don't know, but you've watched on TV that you try to emulate or kind of see as a role model, or maybe even an end goal of that's the job that I want someday, sort of a thing?
Okay. Well, several people come to mind. Staying with Morning Special, Isaac Durst something.
Yep.
He was also one of the hosts early on, and he was a great mentor to me, especially when I was juggling the whole like Morning Special internship slash Arirang radio DJ, because I was doing both at the same time actually, and I initially hid the fact that I had become a radio DJ to the staff where I was an intern, because as an intern, you sort of like the bottom of the ranking system. Yeah. And then I didn't want to be like, hey, by the way, I'm a DJ at another station. So I hid the fact for, I don't know, a good few days or up to a week or something. And then they found out and they go, hey, by the way, are you a DJ? And then I was like, yeah, as if I'd done something really bad. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do about it, because at that time, it wasn't common for a DJ to also sort of be doing a completely different job at a different station. And what I was doing at the time for Morning Special was I was sort of like interning slash I was like the backup English writer, just in case. And nowadays, it's common for English broadcasters to also be writers, or you can have on loads of different jobs, and it's fine now. But back then, no one did that. Either you were a DJ and a host, or you were a writer, or an intern, or an assistant director. You couldn't just be both. So I really, reached out to Isaac. And he helped me a lot. Of course, he had obviously not seen this sort of situation either. And he helped me to transition into sort of getting into more of the hosting position and all of that. But yeah, so as a mentor, I really looked up to him, and I'm still to this day very grateful. And then going back to who I emulated. There was this anchor at CNN. Her name's Anjali Rao. She's since left, and I believe she's now living in Australia. I'm not sure, but so she was my idol. She was sort of my end goal. I wanted to be like her. So she spoke with a British accent, which is something I could relate to. But she was serious and engaging and warm and also like objective all at the same time. And I just found it fascinating. So she could do straight news and hard news about catastrophes going on so professionally. But then she could also have guests on and be a very warm, almost, I wouldn't say caring, but she was the sort of interviewer that you wanted to pour your heart out to. And so I found it just really, really fascinating. So I thought, okay, I want to be like her. So she was the one that I always, imitated and emulated as a uni student for years and years. And the funny thing is, because I was such a fan, you might even say I was like almost obsessed. So, but she was working at CNN Hong Kong at the time. She was based in Asia, and I was traveling to Hong Kong this one time, and I thought, oh, I may as well go to the CNN headquarters. So I went there, and I couldn't get in because the security guard
No,
obviously
you didn't
stopped
call
me.
ahead.
But I got to the entrance, and I said, I just the thing is, I completely like fangirled, and I just like my mind went blank. I'd already been in the broadcasting industry for a few years at that point,
Yeah.
and I had my own show, you know, but none of this, came to me. I just went,
Yeah,
I'm
because
here to
if you had
see
just
Anthony
called ahead, it wouldn't
Rao.
have been a big deal at all.
Yeah, yeah. Or if I just told them about my background,
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
have
Yeah.
seemed a little bit less out of
Stalkerish.
it. But exactly. But I went there and I said, is such and such here? Because I'm such a fan. And they said, do you have an appointment? And I said, no, but I was just wondering if she's here. I've looked up to her for years. And they said, we're very sorry, but we can't just let anyone in. And then I just said, okay. It's almost like, an Anna and Elsa in Frozen, where Anna goes, do you want to build a snowman? Does it have to be a snowman? And every time Elsa goes, no, no, no. And Anna goes, okay, bye. It was like that. It was like I went to CNN, and the security guard, he was lovely. He was very, very kind. I mean, big, but lovely.
Yeah.
And so like threatening and kind at the same time. He said, we're very sorry, but no, you can't come in. And I said, okay, bye. So I just left the building. But that's
Oh
how much a fan
boy.
I was. And I never got to meet her, but I followed her career up until she left CNN. And yeah, she was a big role model for me.
Wow.
Mm.
Funny how you mentioned Isaac Durst. It's interesting because a lot of people in that era actually, either looked up to him or were able to learn something from him, and myself
Yeah.
included. He was at EBS
Mm-hmm.
before I got there. He started broadcasting in Korea before me as well. And when I was at Morning Special in his time, I always remember one moment during the 2002 World Cup. I was, doing the sports news
Mm.
for the program, and one of the things that happened was when Korea beat Italy in the round of 16 game.
Yeah.
I I think Lee Boyoung said something like, "Oh, it's so great that Korea won! Like it's such a big
Mm.
game." And my response to that on air was something to the effect of, "Yeah, obviously this is great. The only negative side of it is people are saying that the referee had a factor in it and that Korea didn't earn the victory
Mm.
at full value." And the message board went nuts after I said that.
Mm-hmm.
And all these people
Yeah.
are saying, "What are you talking about? Like Korea, totally deserved the victory. Like, why are you being so biased?" And I got a lot of hate mail or hate messages at the time. So then the next day I went on air and I said, okay, I want to apologize for everyone with what I was saying. I didn't mean to
Mm.
offend, Korean soccer fans, but, I've been a sports journalist for 7, 8 years before coming to Korea. And,
Yeah.
in Canada, we try to do everything as neutral as possible without, passion or
Mm-hmm.
bias. And just, based on the reports that I've been reading, watching certain things from my
Yeah.
standpoint, that was just something that seemed quite obvious that this is an international story. So after I said that, the message board blew up twice as many people,
Oh.
twice as harsh, saying, "Are you saying that I'm a biased person? That we're biased? You're the one that's..."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I had never experienced such hate, and from
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I was like just shell shocked. And
Right.
Isaac came to me at that time and said, Jason, right now in Korea, like the moment like this, you can't, talk to these people or reason with them.
Mm.
All you can do is say that you were wrong, let it go, and like it'll be okay after that. But if you try to fight it this way, you're gonna lose. And
Mm.
I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? He's right. And I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the next day I went on the message board eventually. I said, you know what, I apologize. I'm sorry. And just everyone pleasing the audience. And after
Mm,
that point, I realized, okay, like it was certainly a lesson that I
yeah.
learned that day. And he was the one that suggested that. And it was a realization from my standpoint
Mm,
as well. But sometimes it's not about just what you think. Sometimes you have to really think about things from the audience's vantage point and
hmm
really
hmm
cater to them because that's what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've had messages targeted towards, me or things I've said and things like that over the years. I mean, it comes with the job, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I I think generally speaking, I take criticism. I won't say well, but I don't take it personally. So
Yes.
maybe I do take it well, especially when it comes to the listeners, because I know that they don't know me personally, and they just want to learn. And sometimes they feel like they want to correct certain things, and I take every message seriously, and you know, there have been times when I've just said, okay, actually, you're right. You're right about that. And there have also been times when I said, you were right about this. However, for this other part, I would really advise that you go and re-listen to what I said. I think it was, sometimes with the radio, especially because it's live and it just goes past so quickly, some people mishear things.
Sure.
And then back in the day, people would write messages based on what they just misheard.
Hmm.
And so I would go and double check it with the producers, and if we were sure that what I had said wasn't wrong, then I would say it, and in a nice way, of course, obviously, um, and I would thank them for pointing it out, and also say, I understand that it could be misheard in this way. However, please go back and listen to it, and I'm pretty sure you'll hear that I said this and not that. And so, yeah, I've had messages, but I feel like it comes from a good place from the listener's perspective. They just want to improve their English, and I get that. So, yeah, I've not had many issues overall, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself and
Hmm.
belief of what you're
Yeah.
doing to be able to take some of those messages because I've had messages
Hmm.
in the past as well. And in fairness, like you mentioned, there are times that, I can look at that and say, oh, you know what? They're right. And if
Hmm.
they are right, then I can acknowledge that and say, yeah, you know what? I made a mistake there. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to make that mistake again. And you can move on and learn
Mm.
from that. But like you said, when they make personal attacks or things about you, like for me, I take it as okay, I know that I'm good at what I do, and I have to believe that, right? Like you have to have
Yeah.
almost not just confidence, but a certain level of arrogance to say that I know that I'm good. And because I know that I'm good, what you're saying, which is just kind of an opinion rather than a fact, that's why I can let that just kind of wash off my back and not worry about it.
Hmm.
Whereas if you doubt yourself, then that's when, those comments can kind of creak through that chink in the armor and really get into your heart and make you doubt your abilities or doubt who you are. So I think it's
Mm.
knowing that you're good at something is sort of like an armor that protects you from some of the personal messages.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I try to be like the humblest perfectionist. I try to be as good at what I do as possible, but then be really humble when it comes to my demeanor. And if someone pointed something out that I was wrong about, then I'm happy to say that was the case. If they were wrong, and sometimes you don't need to mention anything, but if it leads to many other people learning from it, or if there's a huge ripple effect or something, sometimes you need to you know to you call them out maybe, but not in a bad way. Just
Hmm.
say, thanks for writing in, and it's a lot of work for a listener to write in actually, and
Yeah.
but this, then this, and this. And I'm usually 200, 300% sure about what I'm saying if I'm going to, call them out about something. And I always want to also say, but regardless of, what you were wrong about, I make mistakes too. We all make mistakes. And I'm glad we could resolve this.
I'm glad you mentioned earlier about trying to be humble and stuff, because one of the things I actually did want to ask you is I was mentioning that, you need confidence, and especially as a broadcaster, you really have to toe that line between confidence and arrogance, narcissism to a certain degree, because you have to believe in what you're saying and what you're doing so that the audience can believe in what you're saying and what you're doing. Because if you don't believe it, why should the audience believe it, right? So the amount of confidence that you have to carry in this line of work is very high. But at the same time, like, one of the things that I've noticed working with you is that you are indeed confident in what you do, but at the same time, it's almost like you do bring a certain humility to that, like zero arrogance. Like I say, like, I try to get close to that line of arrogance without crossing it, whereas I feel like you're like miles away from that line of arrogance or narcissism, but at the same time, you're still very confident. And I find that, it's pretty difficult to be that confident without being arrogant, and if anything, more humble. So, like, how do you do that? Because it's a very rare.
Nice of you to
I
say
really
that.
think you're the only person I've ever seen that does it to that perfection.
Oh, no, it's really nice of you to say. I think I just growing up, I was always surrounded by like excellent people, whatever field it was. There were so many people that were better than me at anything and everything, and so I never felt like I was the best and everyone is beneath me. I'd never ever felt that way, and yet I also strive for perfection. I want to be really, really good at what I do, not just good, but like really good. So I let my art speak for itself, I guess. And when you do that, you don't really need to tell anyone or show them that I'm right and you're wrong, or whatever. I know more than you, and because it will show. And I see that with tennis players, football stars, movie stars, people who are really, really good at what they do. A lot of the time, they don't come off as being too arrogant. They know they're good, probably, but they don't seem to show it that much. And I try to go towards that, I guess. I mean, I always want to be the best that I can possibly be. But like I said, I am fully aware that I'm not the best person in the world. There are so many other great, smart individuals out there. And if anyone wants to tell me I'm wrong, I'm happy to hear that. And I'll take a look and listen to it. But I try not to be wrong much, so, there's as you said, there's a lot of sort of like a duck or a swan in the water. There's a lot of that waddling under the surface going on. But
so finding confidence in your preparedness and knowing that you're like finding your confidence in that, rather than, just you're finding confidence in your greatness, as opposed to what others.
Well, I don't know if you can call it greatness, but and plus I'm an introvert. I know, like, Koreans these days are really into MBTI and stuff, and people say, are you an E or an I? And I'm definitely an I. So maybe it's just the way I am as well. I mean, some people are more outspoken than others, and I think that's great too. Sometimes I want to be more like that, but I can't. So it's not that I'm suppressing my need to be flamboyant and all of that, because I'm just not that person. But then I just, I don't know. I try to be as prepared as possible, as you said. But once I let my work and my art speaks for itself, then I don't need to be arrogant. I don't think, I don't know.
No, I mean it's a good image to have. Certainly, I wish I could be more that way.
Oh.
But you mentioned that you're introverted and shy. I find that most people that are on-air broadcasters are or more extroverted. So, how did you go from being this shy person that knew that they were shy, but you want to be
Mhm.
a broadcaster? I find that it's
Hmm.
pretty rare.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it? I guess, yeah. I've met people who are kind of shy but are good on air. But I think it probably comes down to I don't know, like as a child, I was always surrounded by non-Asians growing up in England. Um, and I don't know if that made me shy or if I was just shy to begin with, and it just so happened that I was surrounded by Caucasians. But I was never the kind of person that would go, "Hey, come over here and lead the pack," and sort of thing. I was never
Yeah,
that
yeah.
person. But whenever I had the chance to present something, I was more than happy to do so. I played the cello when I was younger, and so I would prepare for days and days, months and months. And then whenever I had the chance to perform on stage, it just made me feel so good. So I love being on stage.
Ah, okay.
So I always had that in me.
Mm.
And same with singing. I was in the choir, and I loved like singing
Having
in
an
front of an
audience.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But even if it wasn't, in a group, doing things by myself as well, at school, right through to university, I loved getting up on stage and sort of bringing out my alter ego, I guess, because it wasn't the person I was in my everyday life, but whenever I had the chance to be that extra confident, extroverted person, then I was happy to do so. And this job allows me to do that. So yeah, I guess I just have two different personalities.
Sure. You mentioned growing up in England, and for you, having grown up partially in England, but also, studying a little bit in Korea as well, that's helped you to become as bilingual as you are, and which has also helped you in your broadcasting profession. So, looking back, I guess, I mean, obviously, in the present, I mean, it's been a great benefit for you, but I would think, I mean, certainly from my experience as a second generation Korean in Canada, there's a lot of difficulties growing up as a minority in, a Caucasian community. So when you look back at the difficulties that might have posed, the challenges of coming back to Korea to study here, where maybe your Korean's not as good as some of your classmates here, like the struggles that you had to go through that has kind of made you who you are in your career. Um, let's talk a little bit about what were those struggles like, and is it sort of redemption now through your broadcasting success?
Yeah. I mean, growing up in England, um, I moved to England when I was 3, just about to turn 4.
Okay.
And so I spent my whole childhood in the UK until I was 14, 15-ish. Um, but I think, still at the age of 3 or 4, you're aware that you look different to everyone else. So even though my Korean wasn't good at the time in England, and I pretty much only thought and dreamt in English, and English was way more comfortable for me back then. Even though that was the case, I knew I was different. I knew I was Asian, whatever that means. Um, and there was that feeling of not belonging, I guess. I love my friends in England. I still keep in touch with some of them, and my English was back then way better than it is now. It's very rusty now, but back then I pretty much only spoke English except for when I was at home. So despite having no trouble communicating because of the way you look. And, I know any Korean, whatever, Canadian, American, and British person will relate. I knew I was different. So I always wanted to be surrounded by people that looked like me. And I wondered what that would feel like because I had never experienced that until my teens when I came back to Korea. And so initially coming back to Korea, I was really excited and happy to see that everyone looked like me. So, it was like I didn't stand out at all.
Yeah.
Which was
Physically.
Yeah, physically. Although like in other ways I did, but physically I looked the same, and that was so refreshing and comforting. I like that feeling. I thought, okay, this is good. But I definitely went through an identity crisis because everything else apart from the way I looked was different. Because the way I thought, and my vocabulary at the time, my Korean vocabulary was very poor. So I couldn't really understand people's jokes, and I could only have a limited conversation with my Korean friends and classmates. So I had a bit of a hard time, but I've always been very positive, even as a child, and I just thought it's okay that I don't really understand what people are saying, because this experience of being around people that look like me in itself was so exhilarating that it kind of, it was kind of enough. But then, I soon realized I needed to brush up on my Korean. I carried around like a physical Korean dictionary and would always look at words when I had a conversation with anyone. I was like, 잠시만요, and then I would look it up, and I made a really big effort to be good in Korean, and now obviously I speak better Korean than English, so I'm fluent in both. But more than anything, I got to understand the different cultures. I'd already experienced Western culture or British culture as a child, at least. And there are things that come with that, especially, the way people live and think and act. You're taught that from a young age. So there was that. And then I came to Korea, and even though it was a completely different stage of my life, I was able to understand what sunung stress is all about, and what teenagers in Korea go through. I was really thrown in the deep end right from the start, and it was all to my advantage because I learned so much being in it. And after a few years of sort of going, okay, so am I Korean or not? And like, I'm not British. Then I also don't feel very Korean either. I felt very foreign for I don't know, a good couple of years, I think. And then I just came to realize at some point, probably at university, that I'm just me. I'm just going to do me, and that's okay as long as I don't offend anyone. But I just came to accept it, and so there were challenges, but I think I just looked on the bright side of things, and I just, it just sounds very cliche, but I was happier that I was going through that sort of language difficulty in Korea. So I was able to accept everything pretty easily. That doesn't mean I was unhappy in England. I was happy there too. So it was like, pros and cons.
So like in hindsight, I mean, everything's worked out great. You've got a great career, you've got a family, and when you look back at the experiences that led you to where you are now, my question as a mother of two children, is that something that you would want for them to go through? Because you've gone through it as a minority in another country. Would you want to have your kids, experience living in a Western city for X number of years to go through that, even though I'm sure there's positive things about it, but there's also struggles through it as well, but maybe it's good for them in the long run. What's your vantage point on that sort of stuff when looking at your kids?
Yeah, no, I'm an open book when it comes to that sort of issue. If the opportunity arises, then why not? I feel like it's worth going through if we had the opportunity to live overseas for a few years. Currently, we don't have that, and so I don't want to force my kids to go through a different life, a different culture, or anything. I do try to expose them to a lot of English while they're still in Korea, and who knows whether they'll ever leave or not. But at the moment, I'm just trying to expose them to the different languages and cultures as much as possible. But I'm not, dead set on going overseas, or I'm going to raise my kids in a different country. Really nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, as an English speaking mother, you can ensure or add to your children's English abilities, but also from someone who's grown up in England, how much or what sort of things do you instill in your children from a cultural vantage point about maybe English culture or a different way of thinking that maybe Korean or Asian parents in Korea might be limited to?
Yeah, I don't know if anything I do is strictly English and then Korean. It's very hard to differentiate one from the other sometimes. But what I do try to do with my kids is they don't use 존댓말 to me, whereas I have always used the honorific Korean language to my parents, growing up in England as well, always. But my kids, I try to be more on an equal footing with my kids. I mean, I'm still a parent, and I have to take care of them and everything. But just as an English-speaking parent would speak the same English to their kids as their friends and the elderly people, sort of that mindset I had with my kids. So ever since they were young, they've always only used 반말 to me ever. So that's one thing, I guess. Although now I find a lot of kids do that in Korea with their parents compared to before. But I had that sort of in my mind right from the moment I learned I was pregnant. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be, that much of a strict parent.
Or I'm going to be the cool mom.
Well, I don't know if I'm a cool mom. My kids would definitely not say I'm cool, but I think no child really thinks their parent is cool. But at least I try not to be the sort of, what's the word for it?
Overly
overbearing.
Strict.
Yeah. And I didn't want my kids to be subservient to me or anything like that. And also, I tried to bring a lot of humor and silliness to the house. So we love being silly around each other, more so, I think, than I am with anyone else. But I do love like the humor and the silliness of what I experienced growing up in England with my friends and their parents, and so yeah, there's that, which I like to bring some levity to the household. I don't know if that's an English thing though. That's why I say it's really hard to say this is English or this is Korean. Yeah, but I guess that's a little bit more Western than it is Asian.
Yeah, I think Korean parenting is sliding in that direction a little bit more and more than in the past. I would say. But how about when you look at kids and their parents? A lot of kids end up following in their parents' footsteps when it comes to careers and stuff. So have your kids ever asked you about or shown interest towards broadcasting because you're in it? And is that something that you would like them to get into, or was there something else that you would like them to do for a career choice?
No, well, I've taken my kids to live shows and things in the past, and they're well aware of what I do, but they have their own dreams, and they want to do things that I haven't ever been able to do or dreamt of doing. So I'm happy to support them in that sense if they do want to ever step into broadcasting, I'd be all for that too. So yeah, I'm really, pretty open to that. I don't think they specifically want to be a broadcaster, but they don't also not want to be a broadcaster. It's, it doesn't really affect them, I don't think. They just know that I am one.
Have you ever caught them bragging to their friends? My mommy's on radio. My mommy's on TV. Have you ever seen things like that?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. Like bragging's not really something I've ever shown my kids, so they don't really know how to do it, I guess. Sometimes it's just not something, they do.
How about for other people, not your kids necessarily, but when you look at the road that you've taken and just your journey and the experience that you've gathered in the field, for people that want to get into broadcasting, whether it be in Korea or another country or city, what are some of the advices that you would offer to them, saying, well, if this is something that you want to get into, here's what you should do, or certain things that you should prepare for before either going that direction in school or before pursuing a passion towards that field?
Yeah, I think having a role model helps, I think. Some people disagree. I've met people who say you should just not have a role model because, then you're not authentic. But for me, I feel like, having a role model doesn't mean you want to be them. You don't want to be exactly like them, but it's just a guide, I guess, a direction. And having that, I think, is useful. So maybe find a broadcaster that you want to be like, or, that inspires you would be one thing. And then also, once you start, just stick with it. It's really hard to do because despite everything I've said, and I do love my job, but there are difficult moments. There are times when you go, but just don't give up. And also, like I said, let your work speak for itself. So, like, behind the scenes, read more, write more, prepare more, practice more. And it'll pay off in the long run, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everything you say. Mentor wise, I've definitely had people that I looked up to before I got into the industry. And then certainly after I got in, I've had mentors that have taught me along the way. So I think certainly people you look up to, whether you know them or not, people you want to emulate, like you said, not copy, but draw inspiration from, I think is absolutely important. And yeah, like you mentioned before, like the iceberg or the duck, what you see on TV is just a fraction of all the work that you're doing and all the research and, like you said, writing and stuff that you're preparing for the broadcast. So much goes into it. So I absolutely agree with all of that. How about any fun stories that you can remember of Arirang or EBS or anything else of like, I remember when this happened, and here's a good nugget or a story that you can remember from your time on air?
There's probably loads and loads. Let's see, what can I think of? The one thing that I do tell my friends quite a lot is I get numbers mixed up. And there was this one time when I was talking about the Lotte Tower in Chamsil. I'm from Chamsil, so this is my hood. I should know everything about the neighborhood, at least, when it comes to landmarks and things like that. And there was this one time where I was supposed to say the 123-story building that is 550 meters high. But I think I said something like the 555-story, 123 meters high building or something. It's like completely nonsensical. And I said it so seriously. So the Lotte Tower, which has 555 floors, and it's 120. And immediately the message board blew up. I was like, no building in Korea has 555 floors. And that was funny. And what other thing did I do? I used to always like to dress up for Halloween. And when Pengsu first came out, Pengsu hadn't really become that famous yet, and yet I like immediately took to it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to blow up. I love this character and how it's like sort of being a kid and being very honest and saying things that you normally wouldn't be able to say. I love that. And so for that particular year, I called up my makeup artist, and I said, can you come in at 6 a.m. and make me look like Pengsu? I need to look like a penguin. And she was really puzzled. She goes, what? You know? And I said, yeah, I know you can do it. And so she did. And she made me look like a penguin. She had all the makeup on and the beak and everything. And so that was fun. That was a fun thing to do. Other than that, I mean, because I've been doing the news for the longest time, you don't get really like, really, really funny, hilarious moments. But it's more sort of live, not accidents, but, things that happen that you don't expect them to.
Sure.
When the sound doesn't come on, for example. I won't say enjoy those moments because they're not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But when they do, those are the moments that make you go, okay, this is live. This is, we're gonna really sort of relish this moment and make the most of it. And I've had moments where all of a sudden the sound went off, or there was a few pages missing in the script for some reason. I think it got lost in the printer or something, so you have no script, but you still, you're okay. So, and that's reminded me of this one time early on when I was doing the 5-minute news at Arirang. This was when you would have sort of 6 pages of news scripts, and each page was just under a minute long, and altogether you had to do it for exactly 5 minutes. It couldn't be a second short or a second long. And the last page was the weather, and that's how you would adjust whatever time you had left. So you could leave a city out, put a city in, and then you would look at the clock as you were doing the weather. But this one occasion, I should have had, I think, 5 stories and the weather, but I only had 4. And I only realized as I was doing the live news, I turned the page, I'm like, shoot, where is news number 5? It's not there. And I had over a minute left of time. So that particular day, of the 5 minutes of news I was supposed to present, I'd say 2 minutes was the weather. So I went around every region and city meticulously, and good thing I was interested in geography and knew a thing or two about each region. So I would say, so over in Busan, which is the southeastern port city of South Korea, and it's beautiful during the summertime. Today we're going to see some grizzly skies. So if you're there, maybe don't go to Haeundae Beach. And moving on to Daejeon, which is known as the academic hub, and then had the Daejeon Expo many years ago. Many scholars were studying there. I'm sure they're indoors, studying really hard. Well, the weather's going to be nice today, so maybe go outdoors, and you'll enjoy the weather very much. So I spent like 2 hours doing the weather. And I was like sweating. But you know what? At the end of the day, I had fun with it.
Yeah.
That's what life is all about.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think outside, the producer and everyone, they were like, what are you doing?
Oh, they didn't know that you were short on script.
Yeah, but they knew I was doing the weather extensively, like a lot longer than usual. And I was like talking about all these cities and like, over in Gangwon-do, which is beautiful for its flowers and trees. What are you doing? Normally I would just go, the highs for Gangwon-do and the lows for Gangwon-do.
Yeah.
And the lows and the highs, and that would be it normally at that particular day.
Have you ever had recurring nightmares about work? Because that's the kind of I've had stuff like that where I've had to have a script ready by whatever period, and then like my nightmares is like okay, I'm on, or like I'll hear the intro, here's Jason with sports, and then I'll be like, I don't have my script ready, or usually just things about being late or not having enough time to prepare for a broadcast, and then I'll just be making it up as I'm on air. You get like recurring nightmares or things like that?
Yeah, yeah. Nightmares about waking up late, not going to work. I all the time. But yeah, I've just come to accept it.
Being a
Can't do
morning
anything about
person.
it.
Do you still get those? Like even these days, or is it something that you went through before?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I think I wake up at 5 on a Saturday when
Yeah.
I don't need to, because I'm afraid I'm going to be late for work.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah. It's just
Yeah, that's
I've
goes with the
come to
territory being a
accept it.
morning person.
Yeah, yeah.
How about being recognized? Do you, like be I know you're mostly radio, but at the same time, the broadcast is simulcast on YouTube as well as visible radio and stuff. And your face is plastered all over the web pages and stuff like that too. Do you remember the first time that you're recognized in public, or do you have any stories of being recognized?
How I'm not really recognized that much. I think because most of the time I don't look like this. I've had my hair done. I have a little makeup on right now. But when none of this is here, then I look like anyone else. I blend in pretty easily. So I'm not like recognized on the streets, but I have been recognized at hospitals, and sort of real estate agents have recognized me. Sort of because I know a lot of our listeners, they have like white collar jobs. A lot of them are very good English speakers, and I'm not saying everyone is like that, but there have been times where I've gone to get a health checkup or something, and the doctor there will go, "Are you?"
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm about to get my health checked. This is embarrassing. So yeah, there's been situations like that. And oftentimes it won't be instantaneous. They won't recognize me for my face, but my voice. So
Ah.
after talking to me for a few seconds, they suddenly go, "Huh? Are you? Wait, hang on. Are you?" And they like do it like a double take. Look at my name, look at my face, and then listen to my voice. And they go, "I'm such a fan." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Okay.
I
But yeah,
hate it when they recognize you, but they don't add in "I'm such a fan" or "I like
oh,
you," or like it becomes like, "Hey, I've seen you on
mhm.
TV," or something like that, right? Because then it
Right, right.
becomes like what do I say? Thank you? Like, I've seen you on TV. Thank you. Like, that doesn't really work, right? It's just like, oh,
Mm-mm.
that's nice. Like it
I'll
kind of
just
leaves it a
avoid
little
saying
bit
thank
awkward. But
you.
if they do like the "I've seen you on TV, hey, I like what you do," or something like
Hmm.
that, then you can say like thank you, and it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense, right? But yeah, I
Hmm.
hate it when it was like, "Hey, I've seen you on TV." It's like, cool.
So,
Like it's
right,
always
right,
kind of
right.
been awkward. So yeah, I've had
Uh-huh.
moments like that it kind of always felt awkward in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just happy if anyone says hi, but then I'm also just happy when people don't recognize me. I think it's more awkward when someone like goes berserk over you. And then so it's not happened often, but there have
Yeah.
been a few times where someone will go, "Oh my God, oh my gosh." And I'm not a movie star or anything. So I feel really embarrassed. I don't know how to take it, but there have been just a few occasions when someone will go, "Oh my gosh, I'm such a big fan. I don't know what," and they're all sort of like, "Oh, can I have your autograph? Can I take a picture?" And it's so sweet and so nice, but I don't know what to do.
Know exactly what you mean. Hey, I wanted to just ask one final thing is there anything else
Mm.
that you're planning to do in the future, or anything that you want to promote, or any message that you want to give to your fans or my audience, or just anything, final words of any sort, or anything you want to promote at all?
Well, currently, I'm mostly focused on my show, Morning Special. So please tune in. Like you said earlier on, it's 8 to 10 a.m. Morning Special on EBS. Um, every now and then I'll be traveling around the country doing a talk or emceeing events. So if you do see me, come up and say hi. I'm always happy to make new acquaintances. So yeah, that's about it really. But if no sort of big projects that I want to announce currently, but I will be traveling around the country a fair bit. So if you do see me wherever in the country, then let me know that you tune into the show or say hi.
Perfect. Want to thank you so much for giving us your time to get to know you a little bit better and offering some insight into your life and career. And yeah, we certainly look forward to seeing you more on radio, YouTube, and everything else that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for tuning in for this conversation. And we look forward to seeing you next time with another conversation. Remember to like this video, to subscribe to the channel so you're up to date the next time we upload another video. Thanks for tuning in.